Hello, sixth graders. We are in Unit 1. We are looking at dividing facts today, and our learning target you need to write down is I can divide multi-digit numbers. Remember, whenever we see this logo, it just reminds us that that's something to think about. As we're going through, what is happening when we divide numbers? If you look down at the bottom here, dividing is repeated subtraction. So they give us this example, 15 divided by 3. If you were to take 15 and split it or continually subtract 3 5 times over, 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, you would eventually get to 0. So the amount of times that we subtracted, that 5 times we subtracted 3, tells us our answer. All right, so now we are looking at long division, and we are trying to figure out how many times this outside number 4 can fit into 356, the number inside the division bracket. So we start with the 4, and we look at the first number, which is a 3 here, and we ask ourselves, can 4 go into 3? Now, it can't, so I'm going to put a 0 up above that as a placeholder, saying 4 cannot go into 3 at all. So now I move on and I look at the 35 and I think to myself, how many times can 4 fit into 35? Well, it can fit in there 8 times without going over. Now I take that 8 and I'm going to multiply it by 4 for the amount of times that it fits in there, which is 32 times. Okay. Now I'm going to subtract 35 minus 32, which is 3. Now I bring down my next number, which is a 6. Then I ask myself, how many times can 4 go into 36? Well, I know that it can go in there 9 times without going over. And then again, I multiply 9 times 4, which is 36. And again, I subtract this, and that equals 0. So now I am done. So that means my answer is what's up above here, which is 89. And again, just like when we're multiplying, we have to make sure our numbers are lined up. Same thing with dividing. Be very careful that your numbers stay lined up. All right? And those are the steps that we follow every time that we are dividing. So again, we look at the 9. We ask ourselves, can it go into 3? And it cannot, so I put a 0. Then, how many times can 9 go into 38? Well, it can go in there 4 times without going over. And then again, we multiply 4 times 9, which is 36. And then we subtract 38 minus 36, which is 2. Bring down the next number. Then how many times can 9 go into 22 without going over? Well, it can go in there twice. Sorry. And then we multiply. 2 times 9 is 18. Do some subtraction. We got to regroup here. Make that a 1. This becomes 12. 12 minus 8 is 4. Bring down the next number. How many times can 9 go into 45? It can go in there 5 times without going over. 5 times 9 is 45. Do your subtraction, and we get 0. So that means our answer, we don't have anything left over, no remainder. We don't have to turn anything to a decimal. Our answer is 425. Last one, if you think you've got it, try this one on your own. Otherwise, just keep watching and following along, copying it down in your notebook. Now we're looking at 12. Can 12 go into 6? No, it cannot, so I put down a 0. Now I'm looking at 64. Well, 12, I know, times 5 is 60, so it goes in there 5 times with nothing left over. 5 times 12, like I said, is 60. Do your subtraction. 64 minus 60 is 4. Bring down your next number. 12 times 4, or I know that 12 times 4 is 48, so it goes in there 4 times. Do your subtraction, which is 0. Nothing else to bring down, nothing left over, so my answer is 54. All right, so here's the steps that you need to write down in your notebook whenever we are dividing. The first step is to divide. Step 2 is multiply. Step 3, subtract. Step 4, drop down the next digit. Step 5, repeat. All right. If you feel comfortable, if you're ready, stop or pause. Try these 2 on your own, and then come back and check your answers. Otherwise, we're going to go through them here. All right, so looking at our steps, the first step says to divide. So we're going to see how many times 32 can fit into the number here. Well, 32 can't go into 1, so I fill in with a 0. Can 32 go into 18? Nope, so we fill in with a 0. Can 32 go into 185? I know it can, but I'm not sure how many. So now I have to do some trial and error. I'm going to guess that it's going to be 5. Okay, I'm just taking a guess here with my knowledge that 3 times 5 is 15, and we're trying to get to 18, and I don't want to go over that. So 5 times 2 is 10, regroup my 1. 5 times 3 is 15, plus 1 is 16. So it's 160. If I added another 32, that would be over 185. So it fits in there 5 times. 5 times 32 is 160. Step 3 says to subtract. 5 minus 0, 8 minus 6, and 1 minus 1. Step 4, drop down the next digit. Bring down the 6. Now, again, I'm not sure how many times 32, so then I go back up to the top and I start with my division again. So 32, I don't know how many times it can go into 256. Again, trial and error and using my knowledge. I know that it needs to end in a 6, and I know that 32 times, or 2 times 8 is 16, so I'm going to try that out. 2 times 8, like I said, 16, regroup the 1. 8 times 3 is 24, plus 1 is 25. And if you didn't get it right on the first try when you're doing this trial and error, you just pick a different number and try it again. So it went in there 8 times, so that goes up above. Step 2, multiply. 8 times 32, we just found out was 256. Step 3 tells me to subtract. 256 minus 256 is 0. Step 4, drop down next digit. There's nothing else to drop down, so my answer is 58. All right, another one for you to try. Try it on your own if you've got it. First step, divide. 74 cannot divide 1, and it cannot divide 19. So now we are on to 190. So I'm going to try twice. So I think anything else is going to be too much. So I'm going to try up above here. Times 2. Well, I know 2 times 4 is 8. 2 times 7 is 14. 148. If I added another 7, I would be over 200. So it's 2 times. 2 times 74, we just found out was 148. Step 3 tells us to subtract. I'm going to have to do some regrouping on here in order to subtract. So I made the 9 one less and turned the 10 into a 0 to a 10. 10 minus 2 is 8. 8 minus 4 is 4. Step 4, drop down next digit, which is a 9, and then we repeat. So we go back up to the top. 74 into 429. I'm going to try 5 times. 5 times 4 is 20. 5 times 7 is 35, plus 2 is 37. So I'm not quite to 429. I'm going to add another 74 and see if that is closer. 7 plus 7, 14. So now I'm over, so our answer here would be 5. So 7 divides 429 5 times. Step 2, multiply. 5 times 74, we just found out was 370. Do some subtraction here. 9. So I have 59 left over. I'm just going to move up a little bit or zoom out. Step 4 tells me to bring down the next digit, which is a 2. Again, notice I'm keeping everything very well lined up and organized, and I'm using my lines to hold my numbers. All right, last part here, 74 into 592. Well, 5 times was 370, 6 times was 444, so I know it's got to be more than 6. I'm going to go up to 7. 74 times, or I'm going to try 8, sorry. That's 32. Again, I know it needs to end in a 2, and I was using my knowledge of 4 times 8. 8 times 7 is 56, plus 3 is that 59. So that is what we need. So it goes in there 8 times. Step 2, multiply 592. Step 3, subtract. Step 4, bring down the next digit. Nothing left over. Our answer is 258. All right, that is the end of the video for today. If you were confused, go back, rewatch the video. Otherwise, come with questions tomorrow.